Hey guys, how's it going? So we're in the back corner of our new property getting ready to plant some brand new hydrangeas that are just coming out. These are called Quick Fire Fab. And of course we don't have any blooms to show you right now. They went through quite the process when they were shipped to us earlier on this summer. But I'm just so happy with the way they look. What happened is they were being shipped to us from Michigan and they stayed in a train car for over 9 days in Salt Lake City. They got stuck. It was like late spring, early summer when they were shipping these out, and everything was just kind of a mess this spring. And so I don't really know what happened. Anyway, they spent 9 days in a train car. So when they arrived at our house, they looked kind of sad. They were pretty dried up. They needed some TLC. So they have spent the last couple of months in our high tunnel on drip, and they have grown back beautifully. I mean, if you look inside, you can see some of the remnants of some of the dried up leaves. But that kind of goes to show you, like 9 days in a train car with no water, the plants are still alive. That's pretty awesome. So the thing that I'm excited about with these, they grow 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, which this back corner here is kind of tucked away. I wanted something that was showy, but low maintenance, which hydrangeas are one of the more low maintenance things in my garden, and something that was striking and that would fill up this space without having to put a bunch of plants back here. So they start off with these beautiful panicle blooms, and they can grow like the size of a football, like huge blooms. And they're kind of a creamy, white, greenish kind of color, almost like a limelight color. And then as they age, the blooms start with this watermelon pink at the bottom that kind of just gradually works its way up the bloom to where you have these huge watermelon pink blooms kind of with a white tip. They're so striking and beautiful. And these are one of the showiest, earliest blooming hydrangeas there are. The thing I do like about panicle hydrangeas as well is that they can take the most amount of sun. So we have pretty harsh summers here, very high heat and low humidity, very little rainfall. And we have limelights out in the full-on sun, and they just thrive. They do really well for us. And in most of the descriptions of even the panicle hydrangeas, they'll say that they're fairly sun tolerant, but to provide some afternoon shade if you live in a harsh climate. But we find as long as they're getting sufficient amount of moisture, they do really well for us in a sunny spot, which this is a really sunny spot. So I'm really excited to see how they do. Now, I have 6 of them here, and it leaves me kind of this gap in the back, which I could do another grouping of 3, or I could put a black lace elderberry back here, which here in our area, they can grow anywhere from like 8 to 12 feet tall and wide. So if I put that back here while this red point maple is like growing and maturing, I think that would be a beautiful backdrop back here, like the dark lacy leaves of that elderberry and then these in the front. And it'd be completely low maintenance. I would hardly ever have to come out here except to check on their water and fertilize them once a year. There are also 2 other really exciting varieties of hydrangeas coming out, which you probably are already familiar with and have heard about. We're a little late getting these planted just because of the whole shipping debacle this spring, but there is Limelight Prime, which is an improved version of the standard limelight, and supposedly they have much stronger stems and darker green leaves. And really, like, I didn't even know that they could improve on the limelight because they do so well for us. So that's exciting. And there's also Firelight Tidbit, which is like the firelights that we're used to, except it's a dwarf variety. It only grows 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. So those are 2 other varieties that we will be planting in our garden here very soon. But I'm excited to get these in the ground. I think they're going to be awesome. I don't think I mentioned these are a zone 3 through 8, so incredibly winter hardy. Anyway, I think we're just going to get these in the ground. In this area here, we do have landscape fabric underneath our mulch. You can see it because we are dealing with bindweed so bad in this spot, and we knew that we didn't want to plant anything that we wanted to have necessarily naturalized, that it was a better way to combat this than spraying all the time. That's the only way we can get rid of it, because like right now, I'm just angering it. I'm making it worse by pulling it. It like spurs the weed on to grow more, and the only way we can handle it is by using sprays. So I felt like landscape fabric in this one area and underneath our North Pole arborvitae hedge was a really good idea. You will notice one of our North Poles is looking a little bit sad. Erin, you should pan down though. Look at how good the rest of them look. I think there's 115 or something like that planted along this fence line. And to only have, I think we've replaced maybe 2 or 3 others this year, which is pretty good in that many amount of plants. But this poor guy, of course, it's like right where I want to show other beautiful things. But we'll get this replaced here soon. I'm really happy with the way these are doing. They're putting on new growth and really looking healthy. Okay, we're gonna plant and then we'll take a look. right guys, it is a brand new day. We got them all in the ground, got them watered in, and then we got snagged up on the irrigation portion, and so we decided to take a break and take our time because we couldn't find the part we needed. So I wanted to show you what we did do, and also in the meantime, between that evening and today, we did run down to my parents' garden center. We bought the last North Pole arborvitae they had to replace the dead one that was here, so it looks a lot better. I still need to take the tag off of it, but anyway, what we couldn't find was our adapter. So the water line that feeds our arborvitaes is 3/4 inch, but we wanted to tee off of it with 1/2 inch poly. See the difference in size there? So we needed a T coupler that has 3/4 inch on two sides and 1/2 inch on the other side. And we knew we had it somewhere, we just couldn't find it. So anyway, we ended up finding it, thank goodness. We got it all run. So what we did is we took off with that 1/2 inch black poly. It goes behind all of these hydrangeas, all the way to the end right here. And then we put an elbow coupler in and we came back this way and swung in front of these two hydrangeas and then ended it. So what we did then is we came in with two 2-gallon per hour emitters. So that's 4 gallons per plant, and popped in right on either side of the root ball. So that's the water that will be coming to these hydrangeas. It doesn't mean we're going to be running it every day. In fact, we are expecting almost a 20-degree temperature drop this weekend. So we'll probably back off a lot of our drip irrigation, so it's not going off every day. But when it's over 100 degrees in our area, because we rarely have cloud cover, rarely have rain, we have to irrigate hydrangeas a lot to keep them from scorching and the blooms from browning. I also wanted to touch on the things that I added into the planting holes, because I added more elements than I normally do. The reason for that is we're trying out some things, some experimental things, because we're noticing on a lot of our plants that we've had in the ground for several years, they're starting to show iron deficiency issues or chlorosis. And what that looks like is it doesn't look like this beautiful green shrub right here. Eventually, because the plant is unable to take up iron, or there's not enough iron in the soil, the leaves will start to yellow, but the veins will stay dark green. And so we're noticing that so much in our other garden over there, that we are trying to condition the soil to maybe combat those problems before they start to happen. So in our area, the reason I think we're dealing with chlorosis problems is not because of a lack of iron in the soil, it's because of our insanely high soil pH. So what we're doing is we're going to work on bringing that soil pH down. So I added a soil acidifier into the planting hole and kind of the surrounding area. And so what that does is it doesn't do anything to the color of these blooms. This is a Hydrangea paniculata. They have blooms that stay true to the type that they are. So this will look just like I showed you earlier, that beautiful kind of creamy white chartreuse, and then aging to that watermelon pink. Doesn't really matter what the soil pH is, it'll look like that. I just added it to bring the soil pH down to hopefully unlock some of those nutrients and make them to where the plant can take them up. And then I also added in some land and sea compost, which is a low pH compost. I think it's going to help condition everything down. So I just wanted to touch on that because I know you guys are used to seeing me use Biotone, which I also use. It's a good starter fertilizer, but I also added those soil conditioners in as an experiment to see how it would help the health of our plants. So it doesn't mean that you guys necessarily need to go out and add all those things too. We're just trying some experiments so you can kind of follow along and see how these do. In fact, Proven Winners recommends that you add nothing into the hole when you're planting something brand new. Just plant it in the native soil, let it acclimate and root in that way. So I'm not necessarily advocating to add extra things into the hole. Biotone starter fertilizer has worked out really great for us with all of our plantings. And then these are just experimental things. So you guys will be able to really follow along and see how we are dealing with that and how they're doing. So the one last thing I forgot to mention is that these bloom on new wood, which means they're great, they're already a zone 3, so they're extra winter hardy. They're really great if you have deer issues or extra heavy snow loads that tend to break branches of your shrubs. These will still form buds and bloom on the wood that they form the current year. Instead of like other hydrangeas that bloom on old wood, they form their buds the previous year. So if you have an extra harsh winter that freezes the buds, or if you have deer that come along and kind of snack on your plants, you might not have any blooms the next year. So that makes these amazing. So usually to size control these, if you were to want to kind of keep them, like I do this with my limelight hydrangeas up front. I take mine down to about hip height every single spring when I see the buds start to swell. And it keeps them just really nice and strong and in check. Out here, I don't think I'm going to have to do much pruning at all. unless I find any, like if there's any dead branches or anything along the way, I'll clip those out, but they can just do their thing out here. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm super excited to show you progress reports of this corner. This is kind of like the, other than the arborvitaes, I mean, it's like the first flower bed over here. Anyway, it'll be a huge, long process, but you guys will get to see all of it. Anyway, thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.